SK works his way around towards that site to go pick up the bomb. Down to a 4-on-2 situation. Bomb planted inside that CT spawn bomb site. Wally on to Fisker. All left up to one member of SK. He's got that in 4. Does he not see him? Does he? He's allowing them not to know that he's there. As it is, he's gonna go. We're gonna look for an into the
God.
Spawn plays it smart. He's gonna be able to sneak right in there. He's working his way in there. Here comes the defuse. He's gonna get it. He's waiting for it. He's getting his shot. Zed is able to come.
Hey guys, what's up? Hope everything is good and welcome back to CS History, episode number 4, where we are covering the man, the legend, SpawN. So starting from the very beginning, SpawN actually started playing Counter-Strike when he was 15 because he broke his elbow playing football or soccer. It was during this time when he was injured that he began to play Counter-Strike. He was shown the game by his friend and also learnt it from his brother, who was also a famous Counter-Strike player from back in early 2000 called Megaton. So with SpawN deciding to put so many hours into the game and becoming one of the world's greatest players, he must have loved the game instantly, right?
I didn't like it. I remember telling my brother, like, how can you play this game? I don't even understand.
Oh, never mind. SpawN's first big team was called Matrix, which consisted of players such as Legendin, Magix, Megaton, which is of course his brother, Zad, RVD, Scream, and many other players. It was in this team where SpawN got his first taste of victory when they won quite a small event and SpawN came away with €300. This gave him a big amount of passion to go on and win more competitions in the future. So after having some local success with Matrix, he went on to play for a team called Too Easy, who had, in my opinion, the best CS tag in history, which was Too Easy 4, and they had players like Arl, Fisker, SpawN, Brunk, Hybe, Scream, Quick, many good Swedish players. You may also know this team as MTW or Mortal Teamwork. So after playing for them, he also played for Matrix a little bit after, just for a few months, from March 2003 until April, just for a few events. He also played for a team called Highland Online, who were a very good Swedish team back then, a bit of a land team back then, but they were very good with some good players. So after being on the radar for quite a few years on the Swedish scene as being a very good player, he went on to play for SK in WTG 2003 as a stand-in, replacing Element. So their lineup for that event was Heaton, Potty, Arl, Fisker and SpawN, an absolutely legendary lineup who would go on to be the best CS team. So after winning WTG 2003 and a couple of other smaller events with SpawN as a stand-in, SK Gaming officially signed SpawN on the 23rd of December 2003. So SK Gaming went into 2004 off a very strong 2003 with a lineup of Heaton, Potty, Arl, Fisker, SpawN and Element. Most big teams need 5 players to really work together, so in May 2004 Element ended up leaving SK Gaming, leaving them with just the 5 as a lineup.
Smooth.
So 2004 was a great year for SpawN. He won many events with SK, most notably 2004's Summer CPL. He also won the Nations Cup with Sweden and got some MVP nominations. So he actually won GotFrag's MVP of the Year award and Fragbyte's Best AWP of the Year. So towards the end of 2004, there was a bit of discontent in the SK Gaming camp. Basically, they weren't quite as dominant as they were in 2003. However, they were still pretty dominant, but that wasn't the issue. The main thing was that people were saying they weren't getting paid what they should have been paid by the contract. The end of 2004 actually ended pretty poorly, with a bit of discontent in the SK 1.6 camp, so they weren't quite as dominant in 2004 as they were in 2003. However, they were still basically the best team around, but it did lose a couple of major events to other teams. But on top of this, there was talk in the background about the management not paying their 1.6 team correctly. So at the end of 2004, the SK 1.6 team actually disbanded, and I remember this was the biggest news back then. It was the biggest thing I'd ever seen in CS at this point, because it was such a massive team to disband. And they actually ended up reforming NRP, so Ninjas in Pyjamas reformed by Potty with Heaton, Hyper, Arl, SpawN and Fisker. Potty was pretty much the inactive one, so the actual playing lineup was Heaton, Hyper, Arl, SpawN and Fisker. The first event for this team was CPL Barcelona, and it didn't actually go too well. It was a bit of a poor event for NRP. They actually came third, and it wasn't too long before SpawN with a few other players rejoined SK. So SpawN's main lineup for 2005 was with SK, and the lineup was SpawN, Vilden, Fisker, Arl and Snadstan. So SK Gaming had a pretty decent 2005 with SpawN. They actually didn't win all the events, they only won CPL Winter 2005 as their biggest event, but it was great to see that SpawN, with some pretty relatively new players to the Swedish scene, could still be on top. From CPL Winter 2005, we also have one of the greatest CS movies of all time released, called SK Believe, which you can see on screen now and also at the start of this video. It's an absolutely brilliant movie. I'll put the link in the description below, so make sure you check that out. Early 2006 was an absolutely amazing time for Counter-Strike. It was really interesting because of this competition called WEG, or World Esports Games, and that saw teams from the West, so from Europe, play against teams from Asia. So you had teams like Lunatic from Korea and other Chinese teams, and they had this big competition where they go and they'd all play against each other. SK flew out to play in WEG in China early 2006, however they actually finished third in their group and left with only $2,000, which was a huge disappointment for a team who had aspirations of winning. It wasn't long after this that SpawN actually left SK again to rejoin Ninjas in Pyjamas. He was replacing a then becoming inactive Heaton, and the team for Ninjas in Pyjamas was Zet, Raban, Wally, Inns and SpawN. It was a pretty good year for SpawN and Nipper, with them coming first in competitions such as Code 5, NGL1, ENC. They actually came second at WCG, losing out to a Polish Pentagram team which had some quality players such as Luke, Neo and Taz, who of course you will know from CS these days and the Virtus Pro. So after a pretty decent 2006, 2007 actually saw SpawN rejoin SK Gaming yet again with a pretty familiar lineup of SpawN, Raban, Vilden, Snajdan and Allen. You'll recognise that from previous NIP lineup and SK lineups, so it's pretty much just a different organisation but a very similar lineup to before. 2007 it was a pretty good year. They won SEC, which actually stands for Samsung European Championships. It was a pretty big event. The first place prize was €15,000, so not too shabby there. That's their main event that they won of the year. 2008 started with SpawN stepping down from Counter-Strike 1.6 for SK Gaming again. However, this time it was not to join a different team. It's actually for him to step down from Counter-Strike and stop playing as a professional player. He still became a bit of an ambassador for SK Gaming 1.6, although he did not play anymore. Throughout his career, SpawN was always massively popular. He had a big following. Everyone seemed to look up to him. He had lots of CS frag movies made about him. So one is on the screen now. I'll put a few more in the descriptions. But in all of CS, I think SpawN was one of the most popular players, if not the most popular player. He was very likeable, had a lot of attitude and just good mentality about him, and he's someone I have always looked up to as a player, and many other players have too. After his playing career, SpawN did do some more work in esports. He worked for Zowie, where you can see the interview earlier on in this video was from. He made monitors with them, helped design some monitors, did a lot of marketing from them, and he also worked for Zowie, where he had his own mouse mat and helped design many mice. You can also catch SpawN on his Twitch, which I'll put in the description below. He doesn't play too often at the moment, but you never know, we might even see a comeback. I very much doubt it, but I would absolutely love that.
And Crims, they just need 2 kills here and they will win it. For the second time, Pronax with 1 Freiburg. Oh my god! He's free, 70 gets both kills!